Hello everybody and welcome to our first ever Under the Radar Magic the Gathering tournament. This is from the Bearded Dragon Games and Comics in Oneonta, New York, and this is MTG Gameday. This was for the Ugin playmat, and a pretty decent sized turnout over at the Dragon. We had 4 rounds of Swiss play before we were able to crown a winner. So this is the first time we will be bringing you guys videos of Magic at the Dragon. Most of our player base plays in modern tournaments. A lot of them just recently went and played in a PPTQ for modern. I believe it was at Kerwin's. I could be mistaken. It could have been in Albany. They play at Kerwin's. They play in Albany, and they play at Jupiter Games. So very competitive play base. There's a whole bunch of set of EDH players that are also here, but anyway, let's get into this best of 3 match. On the right is Jacob P. He's also one of the Netrunner players. You guys have seen him in some Netrunner videos. And on the left is Tristan M. They are both playing combo decks. You're going to have to bear with me because I'm just kind of hopping back into Magic right now. Jake is playing, I believe it's Temur Ascendancy combo, and Tristan is playing Jeskai Ascendancy combo. His is a very, very different spin-off on the Jeskai Ascendancy combo. So, playing combo decks, obviously opening hands make a big deal on what you, on the way you're going to play the game. So, knowing what to mulligan, knowing when not to mulligan, knowing what cards to keep, play order, what cards you're looking for when your opponent goes to do different things. So, at game 1, both players kind of familiar with what the other one is doing, but again, both just saying, like, I have a combo, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to try to dig for all the pieces I need. So you can see a Yavimaya Coast, blue-green coming out of Jeskai Ascendancy. So I think it was a 4 or 5 color combo, and Tristan just kind of builds for a couple turns, so he's going to rack himself for 1, and I believe we're going to see, is it a red? Oh, Sylvan Carotid. So just getting some mana ramp, just kind of going for it. Jake just dropping some land. So going combo deck to combo deck, not what you want to see, not being able to put at least some kind of pressure out on the field. And I can't remember the name of this card. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You get to put a land or a creature, I believe, as a creature or a land into your hand, and then you can put any number of them into your graveyard, or the rest into your graveyard. Again, really got to bear with me because I can't exactly see what that card is. But Tristan's whole idea is we're going to drop everything on the field, we're going to use our search cards, and all of our tutors bury everything into the graveyard. So he's got a lot of mana ramp. We're looking at 5 colors here. Attacking for 2. My apologies, attack for 2. We're going to play that Plains. Another Rattleclaw Mystic. I believe Tristan was able to combo. Now this is a Utopia Cornucopia or something. It's got 3X and it comes into play with that many counters on it, and I believe it taps 4 mana of that color. And I know that it's an essential combo piece in Tristan's combo. Swings for 4. Passes the turn. Jake missed a land drop there, I believe. So pretty much out of this game. Not sure if the opening hand just wasn't one that he was looking for. Yeah, missed another land drop. So I'm kind of confused. Isn't that a forest at the top of his hand? It really looked like a forest at the top of his hand. I mean, it couldn't have been because he didn't play it. But it really looked like a forest at the top of his hand. So, way behind on mana. I'm not sure what he was looking for in his hand, what he was hoping for, if he had some good cards. Probably a hand he should have mulliganed. Either that or those were the only 3 lands and he hasn't drawn in anything else. But No, it wasn't a land. I can't quite tell what card that is. Me both being new to Standard and yeah, new to Standard and can't really quite see all those cards. So Pelucranos gonna come into play. 4-mana 5/5 can make himself monstrous, and when he does, he chooses to fight, I believe, any number of creatures, but it might only just be one. So same thing. We're gonna do the top 5. We're gonna pick. Okay, maybe we can just pick anything. No, that's a creature. I can't tell. That's a creature. So we're gonna take a creature. The rest are gonna get pitched. He's going to enchant his Sylvan Carotid, and it taps to return. To take it until end of turn. It taps to return target creature to its owner's hand. Target permanent, maybe. So playing it a little bit more control-y, because we don't have the Jeskai Ascendancy, so we can't go on and nail the combo. So we're just going to get that extra tempo swing there. Return Pelucranos to the hand. Play a land, gain a life. And Courser or Crufix comes out. So Jake's deck just starting to gain pace right now. Tristan with pretty solid board presence, pretty solid board state. Looking to kind of close things out here, so we'll see what happens. Looks like Jeskai Ascendancy pieces, from what I can tell. And there's the Jeskai Ascendancy. Can't remember why he's taking 1. Oh, okay. That wasn't a mountain. That was tapped down. I couldn't see it. So Shivan Reef. Whoops. So I believe he just did the combo piece. So he's going to enchant one of his creatures with something that lets him tap to return a permanent. Or it's either a permanent or a creature to its owner's hand. I think it's a non-land permanent. And he repeatedly returns the Cornucopia, playing it for 0, which triggers Jeskai Ascendancy, which untaps all his creatures, gives him +1/+1 counters, and lets him choose to draw and discard. And he's going to repeatedly choose to draw, discard until he hits an Altar of the Brood. And then he's going to play the Altar of the Brood and then choose to stop drawing and discarding and repeatedly playing his creature to mill out his opponent. And instead he chooses to draw, discard until his creatures are huge, bounces Jake's only creature to his hand, and then swings for lethal. And that's going to do it for the end of game 1. So Tristan's going to take a 1-0 lead in this matchup. Definitely going to the sideboard for this. Enchantment Destruction is going to be real big, and Jake just having to keep a hand that can do something early. I mean, it took Tristan a real long time before he started getting going in that match to wait until 5th or 6th turn to be able to play anything. Just not a good option. He really needed a 2-drop, if he has any. Needed to see that 3-turn Courser of Crufix, and just really start gaining board presence, because he's either going to have to hit him early or he's going to have to come up with answers. So going into game 2, sideboard is going to be for the answers. Tristan not really looking into anything. Just going to kind of go for it and keep kind of pressing this combo out here and see if Jake can come up with the answer. Because if Jake doesn't come up with the answer, I mean, Tristan's in the driver's seat right now. His deck's working fine. Jake's the one digging for the sideboard. So going to pull out a couple cards that maybe get towards later in the game and don't really help the combo out so much. Try to put in some disruption spells and then get them in hand, be able to apply some pressure and play them at the right time. So we'll get tuned into game 2 here in a second as the players finish shuffling and sideboarding, and we'll get right back to you. Players getting all set here to start game 2. A lot of shuffling, a lot of mulligan, a lot of talking. So just kind of recap from the first game. Tristan comboed off in his, and it turns out Jake's mulligan was 3 lands and 3 4-drops. So in 3 turns, couldn't seem to, well, 4 turns I guess, because I don't think he was on the play, couldn't seem to find that 4th land to really set himself up. So this game looks like Jake's going to keep, and we're going to see Tristan take a mulligan here. Now the Temper Ascendancy combo seems to kind of play more, like it can still play without the combo. I mean, it wins when it drops the combo, pretty much 90% of the time. But Tristan's deck plays a little bit more controlling and honestly really needs to get its combo pieces, so more aggressive mulligans need to happen when you play that deck, just to make sure you really have all the pieces and that you kind of play the odds and increase your chances of drawing the things that you need. But Jake's deck just kind of looking to play things on curve, set up a board presence, and then have card advantage to back it up. So Tristan's going to keep Forest and Elvish Mystic, so a lot better already getting the ramp coming across. Tristan coming in playing a tap land. I can't remember the name of it, red, blue, white. Jake going for a 2-drop, so he's got a Carotid. He's going to swing over for 1. So already significantly better. Just in terms of being able to put the pressure on, make Tristan have to make smarter decisions, smarter plays, better plays. And Jake already up to 4 mana, so we can start to see a 3rd turn Pelucranos here. Definitely a lot of things he's going to be able to do in this match that he couldn't do last game, so let's see how this goes. Hoping to see a 4-drop coming out of here. And that's an Eidolon. Every time he plays the Eidolon or another enchantment, he gets to draw a card. And swinging for 1 again, passing the turn. So I'm guessing probably a Rattleclaw, but needs to get that 2/2 out just to kind of stop the damage coming in, stop the bleeding a little bit. It's going to stall for a couple turns. Not really sure. I mean, the Eidolon is a kind of crucial piece, but not that cheap. So that land taps for 2, and then tap it, add green mana to your mana pool equal to the devotion to green that you have. So currently going to get 1 mana off of it. So with a combo and a way to untap that land, you can see infinite mana if you continue to drop creatures with power 4 or greater, which you can do with the Temur Kitty. You can sit there and have infinite mana and infinite card draw. And your creatures all get haste, you start playing some big dudes. We're going to see a 6-drop here, and that's a great... Oh, Genesis Hydra. Okay. So Genesis Hydra comes into play. You get to reveal the top... Alright, it's 2 green and X. You get to reveal the top X cards of your library. You can put one of those cards into play with converted mana cost X or less. And I can't remember where the rest of them go. The rest of them get shuffled in. So Jake's got most of his pieces on the board. All of his creatures have haste, and he gets to draw a card from the Eidolon by dropping in that Ascendancy. So now whenever he plays a creature with power 4 or greater, he gets to draw a card. So drawing cards with enchantments, drawing cards with ferocious creatures. Way up in mana here. Tristan probably looking at maybe 1 to 2 more turns, 3 if what's going on in Jake's hand is not great. Coming over for 7. Yeah, so 2 turns here. Maybe 1 more, depending on what Jake's going to draw into. And he's going to draw a card off of the Eidolon. Flooded Strand, unmorph from the Rattleclaw. I believe that grants him 3 mana? I'm not entirely sure, but I believe so. Changes his mind, goes with a Carotid, just to kind of get some blocking in the way here, just an attempt to draw more pieces. So Jake definitely got all the pieces that he needed. He's really going for it in this game. I mean, I can't really see a whole lot of stuff Tristan's going to be able to play. I mean, he could play his 1 blue that's going to return something, but I don't know what target you want to hit. You return the Genesis Hydra, life is not getting any better for you. So with the Eidolon out and the Temur Ascendancy out, not a whole lot of things you want to send back to Jake's hand. And I believe we're tapping down, and we're going to play... I don't know what that card is, and I apologize. I probably should know what it is. It is not very big, and I don't know what it does, but it's a card, and it's on the field. Wait, maybe I do know what it is. That might be the guy that untaps target land. If Jake plays one that looks exactly like that, then it's the shepherd dude that untaps lands. That might be who that is. So Jake just doing some math here, trying to figure out if he's got it. I believe we're gonna see. Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. It is the dude that untaps your lands. He's got haste. He's going to untap his shrine. So he tapped for, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Played out somebody for 2. I forget what the guy's name is. But yeah, he taps to untap target land. So he's got 4 mana floating. Trying to figure out what he's going to do with it. So he's going to use 2 of it to retap that. So he's going to go to 6. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is Eidolon 2 green? If Eidolon's 2 green, that's 8. Plus 2 is 10. So he should be floating at 10 mana? 9 or 10 mana. I can't see if Eidolon is 1 green or 2 green. People watching this are probably like, this kid's such a noob. He doesn't understand any Magic cards. Every time this kid plays a card, I know exactly what it does, and he's trying to explain it, he doesn't know. And I apologize. Clearly much better at Netrunner. This event was a lot of fun. It was the first standard event, like actual big event, aside from Friday Night Magic kind of screw-arounds, that I'd played in since the Lorwyn block. Really having a lot of fun with this format. I'm up in one of the next couple matches, and I was playing a red-white aggro version, and I am pretty much getting a mirror match against one of the guys that kind of got me back into the format and helped me build the deck that I built. He was playing red-white as well, but he did a funky little splash, so I'm excited to get to show you guys that. I think it paid off pretty well. I mean, if I remember right, he beat me pretty handedly. So we'll see if that's the case if I remember correctly. I think so. Jake, using his excess mana, he's going to play a Genesis Hydra for 7. So I think he had 9 floating. Genesis Hydra for 7 brings in another guy that's going to untap a land. He's got haste. He's going to draw a card off of his Ascendancy. Probably looking to maybe draw a creature here. But I'm guessing if I saw his hand right, he's got the Goddess that gives all of his people trample. So we're going to tap that land. We're going to rip it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So Eidolon did have 2, so 9. Plus the Mystic, which is 10. Plus the Temur Ascendancy, which is 11. So we just tap that down for 11 mana. And I believe we are going to see the Goddess. She's going to come out, which is going to let him draw a card. Possibly 2 cards. I think she has Ferocious Trigger. And she's an enchantment. Triggers all around. I think she also has an ability that gives your creatures plus something in trample. So, not entirely sure what Jake's waiting around for. I think maybe just trying to load the board. I can really doubt Tristan has any kind of answer at this point, unless he's gonna search for a magical green-blue land that they don't have in standard and then fog him. Immediately comboing off the turn after that. I can't see this going any other way but in Jake's favor. Tristan just kind of playing this one out, seeing how it goes. I know Jake was fairly new to this deck. I think he'd watched it get played once, maybe watched it get played twice. So just going through and reading all the cards. Yeah, Jake just kind of noting, oh wait, all my creatures do have trample, and Tristan says, yeah, that's easily gonna do it. A little bit of overkill. So kept the right hand. Sideboard, not sure if we saw any of the sideboard cards. It doesn't look like we did. Definitely helped, and it also helped that kind of put Tristan on the clock that he needed to. So when you're playing against another combo deck, if you can get the pressure out early and make your opponent have to really have all of his pieces or draw into all of his pieces, just playing the odds, keeping them all against you, and that's going to take us to one game apiece. So looks like Tristan not going to elect to sideboard. Jake keeping things the way that they are. So we'll be back in a second with Game 3. So here we go with Game 3. Tristan deciding to be on the play. That's going to be more in his favor. As we could see, he was probably, I'm guessing, 2 turns behind what he needed last game. So an extra turn really going to buy him that advantage. Jake immediately shaking his head no, sending everything back. Didn't get a chance to get a good look at it, but Jake kind of in a hard call here. Tristan didn't really seem to be doing, to having a whole lot of answers to anything Jake was doing, aside from just kind of going and trying to roll this combo. I mean, if he can get a little bit of damage in through and Jake just not drawing what he needs, he can play a little bit of tempo, like very, very minor, with his one or two spells bouncing things and kicking things back. But pretty much for the most part, just going full tilt, trying to land that combo and trying to get it out. So Jake really needing to be careful what he keeps in his hand, something that has early pressure or most certainly has the disruption spells that he's going to need when Tristan attempts to combo off, to hope that he can either get rid of the target that's being bounced or get rid of the ascendancy before things begin to resolve. And that ever so pleasant stack chain of events. I'm doing this in response to the ability going on the stack, or I'm doing it in response to the ability resolving. All these fun lessons that I'm learning getting back into Standard. So the Mystic coming out for the 1-drop, getting a lot of pressure on. We're going to immediately sack that land. What are we going to dig for here? We're going to dig for a Plains, going down to a 19. Going to go to an 18. I believe we're going to tap for a green, and I think we're going to see a Rattleclaw Mystic. So both players seeing exactly what they want to see, seeing exactly what they need. And this game most likely will be determined by the first player not being able to drop a key piece of something that they need. And I have a feeling that just based on the fact that Jake's playing Green Devotion, that most likely will happen before anything happens on Tristan's side of no pressure being able to be added. So yeah, so we're missing this, the 2-drop. It's going to give Tristan a pretty big window here to kind of settle into his tempo and start going forward. He knows that there's not a 2-drop. Even though the 2-drops don't necessarily put damage on the board, they allow him to next turn be able to drop things for 5 mana, things for 4 mana, consistently having things open and start being able to play bigger pieces to his puzzle. So we're going to go for a big setup here. We're going to see a morph coming in, probably trying to unmorph and get that mana back. Kind of really set himself up for this one. Jake getting his 3rd color down on the board. And playing the Eidolon. Again, to draw a card off of it. So I think the name is Ysera. He drew a Ysera. It's the 2/2, 4/3 with, I want to say trample. I believe it's trample, and when it attacks, you can pay. It's sets of white or red or a combination, and you can take control of a creature the opponent controls, and it gains haste. So Telgem Scheming, 1 and a blue. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can put any number of them back on the top of your library in any order, and then the rest of them get discarded to your graveyard. And if I remember right, Tristan is pretty much saying, I'm going to pay 2 mana to mill myself 5. And he will. So a bunch of lands and a couple other spells. Everything kind of getting resolving and going into there. And for 2, we're going to see a dig through time. We're going to leave one of the fetch lands, and we are going to dig. So good news on Jake's side is we're watching Tristan dig so that we know that he doesn't have all the pieces that he needs. So we're probably looking at next turn playing out maybe a land and another piece, and then the turn after that attempting to combo off. So if we can we can dig for a response for these next 2 turns, we can try to get some board pressure on as we try to stall him out. We're not in a terrible spot, but we're going to have to see what Jake kind of gets in his hand, because being able to take a Ysera from him, or being able to take Ysera and potentially, I don't know if these Ysera's going to have any like good grab targets, but it might allow you to take those Rattle Claws and essentially try to get a couple more damage on the board and try to play with what you have. But I think we're going to wind up needing to see a Naturalize or any kind of creature spell that's going to come in with Flash that will remove enchantments or artifacts from the game or from the board. And I believe Jake has a Shaman. There's like a common Shaman or an uncommon Shaman that when it comes into play it destroys an enchantment. But that's kind of banking on your opponent not comboing off that turn. So even though it's not a bad sideboard card, it's probably not an ideal one. It's not the one that you are looking for. Another Telgem Scheming. And everything's going in. And we're passing the turn back over to Jake. So, going to be looking at trying to get our land drop here. Going to be playing some things. So there's a Courser. It's going to trigger for a card draw. Sorry, it triggers for a card draw. And a Sylvan Carotid. So, being able to see the top card of his library, Tristan knows that unless he's got an answer in his hand, there isn't an answer coming. Sylvan Carotid not going to deal with getting your whole deck milled out. It's not going to deal with having all your stuff bounce to your hand. Coming over for 2, bringing him to 15. So life clock doesn't really appear to be a factor yet. Tristan with a dig through time and then 2 Telgem Schemings. See another dig through time. So doesn't have what he wants in a lot of cards. Going to see if he can look at a whole bunch more cards and find it. Looking through 7, picking 2, putting the rest on the bottom of his library in any order, and probably hoping that he doesn't get to any of those. Two in a red. Jeskai Ascendancy? For 0. So attempting to cast it for 0. When he casts, they untap. He has to draw a discard. Plays his land for the turn. And here we go. So he's going to give his creature till the end of the turn. It can tap to return a permanent, non-land permanent, and I believe we are just going to repeatedly swing this guy back to hand. So the Cornucopia is going to come in and out. Repeatedly, Tristan just kind of walking him through what's going to happen. We're just going to see a lot of drawing and discarding. I believe he's currently asking Jake if Jake's got a response to it. And he's got the mana open for Naturalize. So he might be waiting for Tristan to show him the final piece. So there's the Altar of the Brood. So now Tristan's going to attempt to resolve the Cornucopia and bring it in and out until Jake mills himself. And asking Jake if Jake has a response. Jake does not have a response. He had the Shaman. So the Shaman would come into play and destroy it, but again, Tristan comboed off on that turn. And that's going to do it. Tristan's going to win this series 2-1.